Hey, welcome back to Nerd News Today. I'm Matthew, and in this episode we're taking a look at a figure from AEW Unmatched Series 4, and I think this is probably one of the most anticipated AEW figures to come out in quite a long time, because this is a character who everybody's been clawing for and screaming for and demanding, and Jazzwares has heard those demands and they rushed this guy to the finish line. So today we have the very first ever AEW action figure of CM Punk. Punk is joining the silver brand, if you will, of the AEW figures from Jazzwares. This is their Unmatched series. Unrivaled is their gold label series. Really, there's no difference between the two. They're the exact same figure. They just have slightly different packaging, and they're saying the Unmatched line is kind of a way to get some of the more secondary characters out there. We'll see how true that actually turns out to be, because, hey, they just gave us CM Punk in this lineup, and that's pretty huge. So let's just talk about this packaging real quickly here. As I mentioned already, this is the Unmatched series, and the Unmatched series are basically identical boxes to what you see with the Unrivaled series. The only difference is the silver trim on top, and that's pretty much where the differences really end. His name on the front of the box is silver, the Unmatched logo is silver. These things would normally be gold in the Unrivaled series, but otherwise these boxes are identical, so they will of course fit into your ringside collector cases if you're buying some of those defenders too. The figure has a nice big window in front so you can see all the things he comes with. In this case, we've got a hoodie, we've got some hands, and we've got a microphone. If we take a look at the back of the packaging, you'll see a photo of Punk here, and this is from All Out, as the packaging lets us know also, which is one of my favorite things about these AEW figures, is that they tell us, well, where exactly this outfit came from, and as I mentioned, this is from All Out. We also get a fake CM Punk signature here in the back, and we also see who else is in this lineup, and it's a pretty decent lineup, but I should make this disclaimer right now up front for you guys. I basically had ordered most of the figures from this wave. I actually skipped on Hangman initially, I ordered everybody else. But based on what happened with my review of Unrivaled Series 9 and how just utterly defeated I felt after looking at those figures and just how much soured I was, if you will, also, I canceled all those pre-orders. So you'll see one or two other reviews from the figures that are in this line, and that's going to be it for this series. So I will of course be buying other AEW figures in the future, but yeah, for this lineup, for this review series, not going to see much else. The side of the packaging also has a number, which is kind of cool for anybody out there who's collecting these things mint on card. And if you're storing them library style, so you're basically seeing this profile side of them. So you've got the number of the figure, because this is the 25th figure in this Unmatched series, and again, lets us know what series it's from, along with, well, the AEW logo and a very tiny thumbnail picture of him. But we're not mint on card collectors here. No sir, not at all. We are loose collectors, so we're going to go ahead and get this CM Punk out of the packaging and take a better look at him from all angles. Alright, and here is our CM Punk out of the packaging, the first ever AEW Jazzwares CM Punk action figure. And yeah, this is how he looks, guys. This is him straight out of the packaging. So I have some thoughts already on a few different things here. Is my initial reaction, and that's not really a great first reaction to have. So by the way, I want to mention that right out of the packaging, he does have his microphone. It is wrapped around his hand with a little piece of elastic. So that's why it's currently sitting as nicely as it is, but as we do the review, we will remove that piece of elastic so you can see how he holds it without that. So yeah, why are my initial thoughts kind of like, why is this a thing that makes me go, Well, I'm actually going to begin this review doing a side-by-side comparison, because I do want to talk about the likeness. It's my very first point here. So I'm going to move Punk over here, and let's go ahead and bring in, and again, this is an early figure, and it's a basic, so, we can't exactly do this like it's a side-by-side comparison truly, but yeah, what I have here is a basic version of CM Punk that came out quite some time ago. That's a Mattel basic version. And obviously, this has gone through, CM Punk has gone through a lot of changes in many, many ways, so it is going to be difficult for me to do a true side-by-side, and that's why I'm saying this, but I want to talk about that face, I want to talk about that likeness, because I always ask the question, does this look like the person it's meant to look like? And it's tough for me to say yes. It looks okay. The Jazzwares Punk looks okay, but when I compare it to this Mattel version, Mattel just got it so much better. And, again, this is a beater that I got right here. Like, this CM Punk's one that's been through the ringer. It's got some bangs on his faces, some hair is missing, whatever. But even with that said, and again, this is a younger version of CM Punk, something looks a lot more right over here in Mattel than it does over in Jazzwares land. And, I think the biggest thing, I guess I'm going to get rid of this Punk for now, but I think the biggest difference to me that I can tell up front is probably the paint. And I've complained about this in a lot of other videos with the Jazzwares AEW action figures. Something about the painting that they do just kills all the details. And this feels like we're missing a lot of the sharp details that Mattel figure had. And I can imagine that the Elite figures probably have even better head sculpts with better expressions. So, right out of the gate, head sculpt is not doing it for me. The beard also, paint job is a little bit thick. it basically looks like he has a fallen beard when I'm pretty sure it's meant to be stubble. And Jazzwares has been struggling with stubble for a very long time. I don't think they've gotten a single figure good at stubble since like Wave 1. That was like the Kenny Omega figure, and that was not that great either in terms of stubble, but at least they had it. This just looks like he's got a really thin beard, so it's not quite right. It's not quite how it should look. Here I'll give you guys a better look at it from the side. You can see it's just very thick. It's painted on very thick with no difference in anything. Same thing with the hair, by the way. It's just very thick, one note, one color hair. And yeah, as far as that likeness goes, it's just not there. It doesn't entirely look like him. It's not bad. I'm not going to say it's like a failing grade, but to me, like this version of CM Punk, it's like somewhere in the middle. It's kind of mediocre. It's a little disappointing for this to be his first figure. And I don't know if it's going to ever be better than this either, because based on how I've seen things with Jazzwares, the last few videos I've done about their toys, something just has changed. I don't know what it is. It's not awful, but it's not great. I mean, I want to say he almost looks a little bit like Randy Orton from some angles. And I think a big reason for that is because his eyes are just very squinty, and that's something all the AEW figures have had lately, is the way they've been painting their eyes. They make them unnecessarily squinty. Plus his eyebrows are so thin, the shape of his hair, shape of his head and ears. He looks like Randy Orton. Yeah, he kind of does, doesn't he? And it's not just the hoodie. So, I think with that said, it's time to actually get this jacket off of him. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about this jacket before I actually remove it. So yeah, this is what he wore at All Out. And jacket, I have to tell you, is very nice. This is a really nice soft goods accessory. The hoodie part does actually go up and looks like it can fit around his head. Yes, it can. There's a little bit of elastic there, so that will keep it on him. That's really nice. I like that attention to detail. That's really cool. So yeah, he has his Larry hoodie on. Let's actually show the back of that too, because you got to see, of course, the back of this thing, because hey, there's that doggo. There is that doggo. My oh my, that is some doggo on the back of his jacket there. So let's take this jacket off, and I will also say the disclaimer, I usually take all these things off long term with these figures, taking the microphone out also, just because, I'm always worried about staining, having the plastic get stained because of items like this. So yeah, just something for you guys to be aware of. Now, I am going to be curious to see how they handle his tattoos, but something, I'm going to take his hands out also, since I guess we'll do some hand swapping in a second too. One thing I wanted to mention off the bat is when I've looked at other AEW figures in the past, and they've had rubber jackets, usually rubber jackets more so than the fabric ones, but normally there is actually a piece of plastic that would go around them to kind of protect them from having that rub off that I just mentioned happen. And in this case, there is no little piece of tape to guard him, so that's curious. I don't know if it's changed for all the figures now moving forward, but it is an interesting thing to note right away. So yeah, here he is shirtless, and I think I'm actually going to bring back that Mattel one more time, because I do want to talk about his tattoos. Let's actually get this a little bit better here so you can see all of them a little bit more. So here again, side by side with a Mattel version of CM Punk. Now, I don't actually own any Elite CM Punks, so if anybody out there is a collector of CM Punk figures, they can tell me if the tattoos are any different or painted any better, but this initial release here, at least the version I have, as far as detail goes, pretty big difference here, pretty huge difference. I've talked a lot how I think one of the stronger points of Jazzwares' AEW toys is their tattoos. They tend to do a very excellent job making them really pop, making them look bright, making them look real. You compare the two side by side here, I mean, this is like vanilla versus all 31 flavors of Baskin & Robbins. I mean, this is so much infinitely better than this Mattel basic. So again, if anybody out there has the Elites, they can let me know how those tattoos look, so I'd love to hear about that. But, off the bat, I mean, these tattoos are just, knocking out what Mattel has done. So that's great news. That's a really big, solid positive for me. Does it make up for the likeness? Well, that's to be determined, but it is a great, great thing. I mean, look at all those great details on his tattoo. Okay, so that's what they're doing since they can't get the rights to the Pepsi logo. That's what they're doing instead. That's not bad. I'll give them that. And again, they couldn't put the actual Cobra logo, but they did something pretty close. So you know what? Hats off for trying, Jazzwares. Good job with that. I'll give you guys a lot of points for trying, at least doing something. But yeah, those tattoos are very good. I'm into that. So that is a big, big plus, those tattoos. And also, let's just talk about his pants a little bit too, because that's kind of an important thing as well. So this is the long tights version. This is the long trousers CM Punk. Definitely the least popular outfit of him, but it's his first outfit from his first match, so why the heck not? And you know what? They're correct. You got the Chicago stars down the side here, Got the blue and red and the black pants. I mean, yeah, it was not a great look for him, and he basically went right after that back into the tights, into the trunks rather. But you know what? Hey, all the details are there. The kick pads are looking good, so it's accurate. That's all that kind of really matters in this instance. Not my favorite outfit, and I don't think it's anybody's favorite outfit, but they're there. They're not bad. So let's talk about articulation, because that's one of the also high points of the Jazzwares figures. And, they have a lot more articulation than the Elites would do. I would say, or at least different articulation, but definitely a little bit nicer in some ways. You guys can see the ball jointed head already. We've got ball jointed shoulders. We have the bicep second move. We have double jointed elbows, which just knocked over by CM Punk. We do have double jointed elbows, so you can get some very nice posing with that. We have this torso that you guys can see here, which is different than Mattel Elite because it can move like this, more in the style of the McFarlane figures. We have this torso piece here, which is a rocker, which the Mattel Elites do not have at all, which is really cool. And I always have to point this out, but you can take him apart. So if you ever want to customize and put him on someone else's body temporarily, at least until you get a proper version with trunks, yes, you can do that. It's not difficult to do. It snaps right back into place. The legs are also looking pretty much the same as any other version out there. There's a CM split. How about that? We have a thigh cut here, so you can rotate. Double jointed knees. Boots articulate as well as the ankles do. This is ballet Punk. Very nice, very chic. Articulation, I would never complain about that with a Jazzwares figure because they're always very, very excellent. CM Punk, no exception. Nothing hindering him, top to bottom. That's a great thing about him. Now, as far as accessories go, you already saw the hands come off, and of course, and as you can imagine, our CM Punk here comes with an additional set of hands. In this case, we have a pair of grabbing hands, and I do want to take a moment to actually talk about the hands also. We already saw they can come out. I don't feel like I have the urge to swap them around, but I want to mention them because one thing I was curious about was how they were going to handle his hands. And, not to go back to our Mattel friend over here, but as far as details go, I mean, basically there's a big, big difference between the two of them. And in the case of the Mattel figure here, it's just painted on. Whereas the Jazzwares figure, it's actually a brand new sculpt, you guys. That is a brand new sculpt of the forearms and the hands, because that is taped up and that's sculpted tape. And not only that, the detail much, much nicer here. Now again, maybe an Elite collector will let me know, but it actually says drug-free on his fingers here. We don't have that on the Mattel one we just looked at. So that detail is great. Much more attention to detail in that regard. Now, we already saw his hoodie over here, but here it is again. That counts as an accessory for sure. Really nice to have that. And last but not least, we saw this earlier when we took him out of the packaging. He does come with a microphone, so let's get that back in his hand and make sure it does in fact fit without the tape. And yes it does. So there you guys go. You can get your CM Punk talking on the mic. Perfect, nailed it. I mean, that part's great. They're getting everything here. I mean, this is looking good as far as all that goes. And I will say from a distance, it looks a lot better than it does up close, this head sculpt here. From a distance, it definitely works. From up close though, not quite there still. Now let's bring out a few other figures, since I already showed him against the Mattel version here. Let's just bring in some other AEW Jazzwares figures, just to show you how he looks in terms of his size and his physique compared to a few other guys. And let's bring in I'm gonna put him behind him, so he'll look a little bit smaller. I'll see if I can get them next to each other. So we got ourselves a Dustin Rhodes over here, and I'll bring in a Chris Jericho on this side. So that's how it's gonna look with those two guys next to him. And Dustin Rhodes is a pretty big character. He's one of the bigger figures in this lineup. Jericho, not looking too bad either. I mean, again, Jericho's body, that's a story for a different day, but not looking too terrible. So that looks decent enough. Let's try a few other guys who might be closer to his size, or even shorter in this case. So here we have Pac. We'll put Pac next to our Punk. And we'll put one of my favorite AEW figures so far. This will be Kenny Omega from Unrivaled Series 5. So that's how he's going to look side by side with those dudes. And keep in mind, we already did see the version here with Mattel. We'll swap them out there just one more time, just so you guys can see him head to toe with this Punk here. And, the Jazzwares figures are, I think, a little bit bigger than the average figure you've gotten from Mattel. Case in point, I'm going to bring out Pac, and I happen to have a Elite Nakamura here as well, so we can see how that looks side by side as much as possible. This Nakamura doesn't want to stand up, but there you go. You guys get the idea. So, no, they're actually pretty decent in scale, right? They are pretty much in scale with each other, so that is good. But it is worth noting that that's Punk. But it is worth noting that the Punk from Mattel, he is a little bit shorter for whatever reason. Seems to be just the tiniest bit shorter. Very odd, but that's how it goes. So that is our look at the CM Punk action figure. And overall, for a first attempt, it's good. It gets the job done. But definitely not my favorite version of Punk. I think everybody's going to be clamoring to get this version of him because it's his first AEW action figure. Therefore, it is highly collectible. And to be honest, I considered getting 2 of them also just because I was like maybe thinking about getting one signed. But ultimately, I went with just one, and I decided to open it for the sake of reviewing it. And that was because really, I wasn't too impressed by that face sculpt, and I wanted to share those thoughts with you. Because, yeah, looking at this again still, I'm not really tuned to that head sculpt. It's just not that good of a head sculpt to me. It doesn't really look that good like him. It's like it's close, but it's not there. And that's kind of what it's been like looking at other Jazzwares figures lately. They either nail it, or they just don't. This one is somewhere between. From certain angles, it kind of looks like him. From other angles, not really at all whatsoever. So, it's not one of my favorite figures out there of him. And to be honest, the only reason I'd say to get this version of CM Punk would be if you wanted to get it autographed, because this is in theory going to be the collector's item. This is the first one he's going to have. But for me, I am most likely I know for sure they're going to make more CM Punks, and I will buy more CM Punks. So this is the point that I want to stress to you guys, is that if you missed out on this one and you just don't really care about it being his first, just wait a little while, because you're going to get much more CM Punks. Hopefully better head sculpts and better outfits, more accessories. I'm hoping everything is smooth over with MJF, because I really want a Blood and Guts 2-pack of MJF and CM Punk with that dog collar. That would be an amazing 2-pack to get. But otherwise, with this figure here, I could take it or leave it, unfortunately. And I wish I wasn't saying that, because I really wanted to have an awesome CM Punk in my collection. This one just isn't it. This one is not quite the one for me. I'm just going to be optimistic that the next ones will be better. And that's kind of my thoughts on it here. So if you guys want to pick up this CM Punk for yourself, we're going to have links to it in our description below. So make sure to use those if you want to order him. So until next time, I'm Matthew. This has been Nerd News Today, and that is our look at AEW Jazzwares CM Punk from their Unmatched Collection Series 4. And we'll see you guys later for more wrestling figure reviews and everything else we do here on this channel. It's clobbering time.